One day, I suddenly realized I could hear my vegetative husband's inner voice. It's been 2 damn months. When the hell can I get up? I'm starving. I want hot pot, skewers, spicy soup, barbecue, seafood, clay pot chicken. And then, he started singing. Baby bok choy, the ground is cold, got some money, now I lie in bed. I snapped, can you keep it down? Some of us healthy folks are trying to rest. Holy crap, you can hear me? Quick, chat with me for 5 cents worth. Louis must have been awake. Because the endless chatter started again. That nurse who wipes me down sucks. So rough. Can we get a gentler one? What's my wife's name again? She's kinda cute though. My butt's so itchy all of a sudden. Someone scratch it. I'm gonna go crazy. I was reading next to his bed, trying to ignore him, but the noise was unbearable. So I reached under the blanket and gave his butt a couple of scratches. Suddenly, dead silence. I glanced over. Louis lay there, eyes closed, expression blank. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, boom. My eardrums exploded. What the hell is wrong with this woman? Why is she touching my butt all of a sudden? No way, does she have some freaky fetish? Even a vegetable's not safe? Ugh, if she could just scratch a bit more to the right, still so itchy. I frowned and scratched 2 inches to the right. Are you quiet now? I asked, annoyed. Why, you can really hear me. I ignored him and turned back to my book. Which only made Louis act out even more. I was speechless. Weren't you supposed to be the cold-blooded, emotionless villain? What the hell happened to that guy? I transmigrated into this book last month. And not just into any role, but the tragic stand-in bride for the villain. The plot of this story? One word, cliché. I was the illegitimate daughter of the Lee family. Originally, it was supposed to be my half-sister, Salma, who married Louis, the male lead and comatose villain. But Salma's mom couldn't bear to let her precious daughter marry a vegetable. So they sent me instead. According to the original plot, I spent my married days doing everything possible to dig my own grave. At one point, I even hooked up with a minor side character, plotting to murder Louis and run off with his billions. Unfortunately, Louis woke up, and I was swiftly written out of the story. The rest focused on the twisted love-hate triangle between Louis and the main couple. In short, none of it had much to do with me. So I figured, since I was already here, I might as well stay. I liked peace and quiet. Being able to read in silence, without a 9 to 9 grind, sounded like a dream come true. Every day, I read by Louis's hospital bed. At night, I slept in the giant villa. I even planned it all out. When Louis woke up, I'd calmly explain everything and hope for a peaceful divorce. What I didn't expect was that he'd start talking. At first, I thought he'd regained consciousness. I even called the doctor. But it turned out, I was the only one who could hear his nonsense. Then I remembered, someone had mentioned I'd get a golden finger, a cheat ability. I went stiff with horror. Was this it? My golden finger was hearing a vegetative villain's inner monologue? What kind of trash power was that? After being silent for 2 months, once Louis realized I could hear him, he went absolutely feral. You're my wife, right? I think your name's Salma? No. Salma's my half-sister. I'm Emily. Oh, I've met your sister. She talks way too damn much. Thank God she's not the one who married me. I can't stand that fake sweet type. Says the one with the non-stop commentary. Honestly, he talks more than anyone I know. I rolled my eyes. Before I could respond, Louis piped up again, can you do me another favor? His voice trembled slightly. Can you check if I've got a mosquito bite on my butt? It itches like hell. I looked at him lying there on the bed. His skin was pale, features sharp and handsome, with faint creases between his brows. Probably from years of frowning. My cheeks warmed. Last time. Come on, we're married. It's just a butt. Not like. Louis. Okay, last time. Once I'm better, even if you beg me to let you look, I'll say no. I couldn't take it anymore. I yanked his blanket off. Lifting his hospital gown, I saw that, probably from lying too long, his skin looked even paler than usual. Nope. Nothing there. Lower. You didn't even reach the spot. I had no choice but to pull the gown lower and lean in to examine closely. Right at that moment, click. The door opened. I looked up, straight into the eyes of Louis's mom. And my hand was still resting rather suggestively on her son's butt. Even I couldn't keep a straight face. Auntie, no, Mom, Her face turned even redder than mine. It's okay. Mom understands. I totally get it. No. She didn't get anything. And meanwhile, that bastard Louis, who couldn't see a thing, was still nagging, why'd you stop? Come on, hurry up. Thanks to Louis, something unexpected happened after that day. His mom started treating me surprisingly well. She bought me a gold necklace. then a luxury handbag. And every so often, she'd dab at her eyes and say, "Our Lin family owes you too much, dear." Even the attending physician called me in for a private chat. In Lewis's condition, the chances of waking up are actually quite high. When that happens, your marital relations won't be affected. But during this stage, it's best to exercise restraint. Restraint? What exactly am I supposed to be restraining? My urge to carve a cross into the mosquito bite on his butt? I returned to the room with a cold face, only to hear the instigator himself whining, "Where did you go?" I was so bored all alone. I ignored him, picked up my bag, and turned to leave. He grumbled, "Why don't you just stay the night? The nurse's snoring is way too loud, I can't sleep." "You can always choose to sleep anyway." "No way. Hospitals are full of dark energy. I'm scared to be alone." My temple twitched. I couldn't help but ask, "Were you always like this?" "Like what?" "This loud and dramatic." Lewis paused for a few seconds. "I prefer to call myself a cheerful and sunny boy. I mean, have you ever seen a vegetable with a mindset this positive?" Then he sighed. "I'm handsome and charming. Having me as your husband, you should count your blessings." Wow. My standards must be subterranean if that line was supposed to make me laugh. Still, that night, I stayed. Not because of Lewis, but because his mom gave me way too much stuff. I felt kind of guilty taking it all. When Lewis found out I was staying overnight, he actually got shy. In a bashful tone, he asked, "So, does this count as our wedding night?" "It's my first time. If I mess up anything, please be understanding." I looked at his peaceful face lying on the bed. Did he forget he was technically still a vegetable? Sleeping beside Lewis, I found it impossible to fall asleep. In truth, the Lin family's current situation wasn't looking good. Lewis's car accident had tanked the company's stock price. Many collaborations were cancelled. Competitor companies seized the opportunity to pounce, trying to destroy the Lin family completely, including the family of the original me. According to the novel's plot, Lewis would do two things after waking up: 1. Kill me. 2. Ruin the Lee family. That thought made me uneasy. I glanced over at the clueless man beside me. Would he really kill me? Sensing my gaze, Lewis asked, "Do I really look that good? Want to feel?" I turned away instantly. "No, thank you." Recently, Lewis's mom had been visiting less and less. I didn't even need to ask to know, the company situation must be getting worse. Everything was unfolding exactly like the original plot, which only made me even more anxious. I took extra care with Lewis every day, terrified that if I slipped up even once, he'd have me killed on the spot. But even with all that caution, something still went wrong. It started when a media team came to the hospital for a routine feature. A nurse accidentally revealed that I'd been staying up all night caring for my comatose husband. The editor-in-chief was so moved that they ran a special story that same day titled, "Newlywed Tragedy, Wife Devotedly Cares for Comatose Husband Without Regret." The article harshly criticized modern-day young couples for their rash marriages and quick divorces, using me and Lewis as a shining example of steadfast love and loyalty, strong as a boulder, unshaken by adversity. It was meant to be just another heartwarming human interest story. But someone, God knows who, snapped a photo of us. I was sitting beside Lewis's hospital bed, reading. The sunlight poured through the window, casting a warm glow over us. The whole scene gave off an idyllic, peaceful vibe. The photo went viral almost instantly. "Holy, look at that husband. With that face, I'd wait faithfully too. He looks kinda familiar. Isn't that Lewis, CEO of the Lin Group? Didn't he get into a car crash recently? Wait, when did he get married?" Soon, hashtags like hashtag Lewis got married and hashtag Lewis in coma shot up the trending page. When I saw the bright red hot tag next to them, I was completely stunned. Whose big mouth ruined everything? I specifically told the hospital to keep it quiet. Lewis's mother looked toward him with deep worry in her eyes. Lewis has always been a low-key person. He hates gossip and tabloid nonsense. And now the first thing to hit the news is his medical condition. How am I supposed to explain this to him when he wakes up? Meanwhile, the supposedly low-key man in question was anything but. "I made the news, huh? How did the photo turn out? That nurse, couldn't she have at least let you do my makeup beforehand?" Then, with a touch of smugness, look at me. I may be a vegetable now, but I still have a whole army of fangirls online calling me husband. Emily, you should feel threatened. Take them. Take all of them. I'll gladly hand him over. Although the Lin family quickly arranged to have the trending tags removed, the news about Lewis being in a coma couldn't be buried anymore. Media outlets swarmed the hospital, demanding interviews. If this keeps going, the rumors are only going to spiral out of control. Lewis's mother grew more and more anxious. In just 2 months, she looked like she had aged a decade. Louis, who could hear everything from inside his vegetable state, said to me, "Let's just tell the media the truth." "You really want to?" "Better to be upfront than keep hiding it. Just one thing, can I count on you to be our spokesperson, dear wife?" The day before the press conference, Louis helped me write the full statement right there in his hospital room. It included a detailed account of his accident and the current state of his recovery. He spoke so calmly while dictating it, but my heart clenched with every word. "When that truck hit you, did it hurt?" I asked quietly. "I don't remember." Louis pressed his lips together, then said with a faint smile, "Honestly, my first thought was, finally, I don't have to get married." "But in the end, you still got married." "Yeah," he chuckled. "Thanks to that crash, I ended up with someone way better looking." The press conference was streamed online. I read Louis's statement from start to finish, word for word. When I finished, I looked up and realized, the live comments had gone totally silent. The reporters, too, didn't seem particularly interested. One of them hesitated, then finally asked, "Miss Emily, what the public really wants to know is, your love story with Mr. Lin." Then the comment feed exploded, everyone asking how we got together, if it was love at first sight, some even asked how a coma patient could fulfill certain needs. Yes, those needs. 18+ territory. I sneaked a glance at the man lying beside me, blissfully unaware, and my face slowly turned red. "We had an arranged marriage," I said. "We didn't know each other before this, so there wasn't really any emotional foundation." This wasn't exactly a secret in our social circle, so another reporter followed up, "After Mr. Lin's accident, did you ever consider leaving?" I shook my head. "I mean, what else could I do? I was afraid to die." "Then, what made you stay by Mr. Lin's side?" I wanted to say, because he's the villain and could literally have me killed. But instead, I pretended to ponder seriously for a moment. "I guess it's because he has such a bright and cheerful personality." After the event, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Well done, wife." The sound of his voice made me jolt. Thinking back to those reporters' questions, my face flushed all over again. I mumbled, "It wasn't hard." I thought that was the end of it. Until the next day, #Emily press conference shot up to the top of the trending list. I panicked. Did I mess up something during the interview yesterday? "You were sincere, composed, and your confession about me was heartfelt." "Don't worry, even I was moved." "No way the internet's gonna tear you apart." Trying to calm myself, I clicked into the topic, and was immediately greeted by a viral tweet, "Emily, my husband's not a cold-blooded villain, he's forever the sunny boy in my heart." What the hell was that? The comments were just as unhinged. "Sunny? I mean, I like Louis too, but is Emily sure we're talking about the same person?" "Emily, blink twice if you've been kidnapped. That man is Louis, Louis. Am I the only one absolutely obsessed with this pairing? Comatose CEO times pampered heiress is peak romantic angst." Agreed. That was my exact first thought too. And then the thread went completely off the rails. Everyone was suddenly talking about shipping me and Louis. Someone even created a new fandom tag for us, #TheRealmOfMLouis. That night, Louis couldn't sleep and forced me to read him fanfiction people had written under the tag. Emily had endured 3 long months of loneliness. That night, under the silver moonlight, she approached the bed where her silent, sleeping CEO lay. She couldn't hold back any longer. She lifted the blanket, and threw herself on top of Louis. I stopped abruptly. Louis urged me, "Then what?" What did Emily do next? Then Emily lifted the blanket and scratched a giant cross onto Louis's butt. Face burning, I snapped the phone shut. Eyes closed. "Go to sleep." Louis knew perfectly well that wasn't what the fanfic said. He let out a huff of frustration. "Fine. I'll just read it myself once I wake up." I had to admit, the press conference went far better than expected. In fact, it even gave an unexpected boost to the Lin Corporation's stock price. A surprising number of shipper fans began paying for the CEO's romance arc, bought a few Lin Corp products today, supporting Emily in her quest to conquer the comatose CEO. If y'all don't buy anything, how's Louis supposed to keep being a boss? If Louis stops being a boss, how am I supposed to keep reading sweet wife fanfiction? Some netizens even began reviewing Lin Corporation's products. I've been buying from Lin Corp for a while, honestly, their quality beats out a lot of international brands. As more people began to take notice, the company, miraculously, weathered the storm. But where there's joy, there's always someone getting nervous. The Lin Corporation made a stunning comeback, and the Lee family couldn't sit still any longer. A few days later, Salma showed up at my door. "Emily, I just heard about your marriage. I'm so sorry. As your sister, I failed you." Her phony sisterly concern gave me goosebumps. I pulled a tissue and handed it over. "What are you doing here?" "I came to help you." Salma sniffled and began her story. Our parents forced me to marry Louis, so I ran off to the States. I never imagined they'd actually make you marry him instead. The moment I heard, I came straight back. Emily, I've always seen you as my real sister. Don't worry, I won't let you end up with someone like Louis. I already spoke to Dad. He's agreed to the divorce. Before I could even respond, Louis let out a theatrical tisk-tisk from the bed. Does she think we're idiots? The only reason Lynn Corp bounced back is because the internet's shipping us. And now she's here trying to break up the couple? What a convenient way to crash the company. Of course, I knew exactly what he meant. I shook my head. No need. I'm doing just fine. You don't have to lie to me. Salma grabbed my hand, her tone urgent. I know the Lynn family's forcing you to put on a show online. Emily, trust me, Louis is not a good person. Hey now, Louis grumbled. Talk all you want, but do you have to get personal? He muttered in my direction, Salma's not only unattractive, she's got a nasty soul, too. If this were a fairy tale, she'd be Snow White's evil stepmother. I'd had enough. Can you please shut up? Salma was startled by my outburst. Her eyes turned red. Emily, you don't believe me. I'm not talking about you, whatever. Keep going. She must have assumed I was upset because she criticized Louis. To win me over, she took a deep breath and glanced around to make sure we were alone. Then she leaned in. Louis has violent tendencies. At 6, he set the dogs on a maid and crushed both her legs, she's still in a wheelchair. In high school, he burned a classmate with a cigarette, forced him to drop out. He's known all over the circle as a complete tyrant. I glanced at Louis. Honestly, I couldn't picture him doing any of that. Sure enough, he snorted. We helped that man with a re-employment program, he was already disabled before the dog incident. And that high school story? Some chubby kid was showing off his tattoo. He got caught by the teacher and lied that I burned him. With that kind of imagination, Salma should ditch the drama and write novels. She'd make way more money. There's one more thing. Do you know how his father really died? I shook my head. Salma lowered her voice. He poisoned him. Just to inherit the company. And Louis lost it. Wife. Get her to wait right there. I'm calling my old man up from his grave to come personally drag her away. After Salma left, Louis was still fuming silently in bed. Seeing me calmly reading as if nothing happened only made him more upset. She slandered me like that, and you're not even mad? What kind of wife are you? I fought the urge to laugh. Well, maybe Salma should have been your wife. If you don't want me, I can help you get her back. So what, you're planning to dump me? Was I? Louis's reaction was like a husband catching his wife cheating. His voice rose in pitch and drama. Emily, are you trying to abandon me? That threw me completely off. Abandon you for what? So vegetative people don't get human rights now? You scratch a comatose guy's butt and don't even take responsibility? Are we seriously still not over that? After that day, Salma didn't show up again, but I couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't over. Sure enough, a few days later, a stranger blocked my path. Emily. Do I know you? You're still mad at me, aren't you? The man looked somewhat downcast. I didn't come for you before the wedding because your father threatened me. You know my family's situation. I couldn't risk my mother's safety. That line jogged a memory. I racked my brain and finally recalled the name. You're Luke? You finally answered me. Great. The scumbag who once tried to elope with me, and got me killed in the original plot, was back. By now, Louis had been unconscious for 4 months. According to the timeline, he should be waking up soon. I really didn't want any trouble now. I stepped back. Sorry. I'm married now. Don't come looking for me again. I thought that was clear enough. But no, Luke started showing up around the hospital constantly, trying to win me back. Your sister told me you're miserable in that marriage. One day, he followed me all the way to the top floor. Then, without warning, burst into Louis's room. Your father's agreed to let us be together. The biggest obstacle is gone. Emily, I don't believe you've already forgotten me. Then, he hugged me. Let me take you away. To a city where no one knows us. We can start over. Are you insane? I was just about to shove him off when a cold voice cut through the air. Getting cozy in a hospital room? You two certainly have refined taste. Luke immediately jumped away from me. I turned, heart pounding. Louis was sitting up in bed. Why'd you stop? Did I wake up at a bad time? Sorry for interrupting. So that was really Louis speaking? My heart practically exploded. I rushed to his bedside. You're awake? Are you in any pain? Louis calmly put some distance between us. Miss Lee II, I appreciate the concern. But if you have time for private affairs, perhaps you should handle those first, before we discuss divorce. Louis woke up. And with that, my golden finger disappeared. He didn't remember anything that happened during his vegetative state. As if the whole thing had just been my overactive imagination. Right now, a group of doctors had gathered around his hospital bed, running a full set of post-coma evaluations. All bodily functions are normal. Congratulations, Mr. Lin, you'll be ready for discharge in a few days. The lead doctor let out a relieved sigh, smiling as he turned to me. And congratulations to you as well, Miss Lee. Your trial of patience is finally over. Lewis frowned. Trial of patience? The doctor, probably assuming we were a sweet, loving couple, spoke with zero filter. Your wife, of course. She pulled down your pants while you were unconscious. I kept telling her to wait a bit longer. Then he even winked at me. Relax, I ran all the tests for you, everything's perfectly functional. I nearly died on the spot. What kind of doctor says that out loud? It's not what you think. I stammered. Lewis shot me a sidelong glance. Miss Lee II certainly has interesting tastes. The very first thing he did after waking up was summon his company assistant to the hospital to check on the business. Thanks to your wife, sir, everything is running smoothly. My mother? No, your wife, sir. The assistant handed him a phone and played the recording of the live-streamed press conference. When it ended, Lewis's hand was trembling. He looked at me, eyes burning. Who gave you permission to speak at a press conference like that? Saying those kinds of outrageous things? I had originally stayed quiet, but now I was annoyed. With your accident already splashed across the news, are you saying I shouldn't have held a press conference at all? Lewis opened his mouth, but no words came out. I continued, so, was it the written statement you had a problem with? Or was it my answers during the Q&A? Which part did you disagree with exactly? He stayed silent. I raised a brow. Well, if there's no issue with either, then what's your problem now? Lewis, probably not used to being talked back to, paused for several long seconds before muttering, sharp tongue. I mimicked his cold tone. Ungrateful bastard. I didn't want to share a room with him for another second, so I turned to leave. Then I remembered something. I pulled a stack of papers from my bag and set them on his bedside table. I was originally going to use these to help you fall asleep. But since you're awake now, you can read them yourself. What is it? I opened the first page and pointed at the title, Dear Wife, the CEO has become a vegetable again. Lewis's face froze in place. I gave a little huff. Hope that pisses you off. Maybe the fanfiction hit him too hard, because I didn't see Lewis for several days. When we finally crossed paths again a week later, he stormed toward me in a fury. So this was your grand plan all along? I blinked at him. Honestly, ever since waking up, he'd been acting like an overinflated pufferfish. What plan? He threw a stack of photos onto the table. I picked them up and frowned. They were all of me and Luke. One was from when we'd first met outside the hospital. Another of him loitering near the building. One even caught the moment he tried to hug me. But the camera angles were ridiculously well chosen, cleverly staged to look romantic. That's when I finally understood Salma's plan. If the divorce angle didn't work, they'd use Luke to frame me for cheating and ruin the entire CP hype the public had built around Lewis and me. I remembered exactly how the original character had died. And looking at Lewis's darkening expression now, I was starting to get nervous. The photos are fake. I've been with you all day, every day. Where would I even find time to sneak off with another man? With me all day? I immediately shut up. Lewis's tone turned cold. You're not even trying to lie convincingly anymore. I suppose you figured out there's nothing I can do to you now. I couldn't take it anymore. Lewis, are you two-faced or what? You act like you don't care, but I know you do. Why do you insist on saying hurtful things all the time? You were clearly thrilled to see yourself on the front page. You've been following those fanfics more obsessively than anyone. And when Luke showed up, you were jealous. You don't actually want a divorce. So why are you pretending you do? It's so annoying. And who told you that nonsense? You did. You literally told me every single word of it. I glared at him. Believe it or not, I don't care anymore. And with that, I walked off. Lewis stayed rooted in place. After a moment, realizing I really wasn't coming back, he snapped. What did I even say? Why are you mad again? I mean, just from a basic standpoint, as your husband, seeing you in those kinds of photos with another man, is it really unreasonable to ask for a damn explanation? I didn't even look at him. When you're ready to act like a real husband, then we'll talk. Although Lewis and I had argued, we both knew exactly what would happen once those photos hit the internet. The public is easy to manipulate. Many people don't care about the truth, they only believe what they want to believe. Lately, Lewis had been leaving early and returning late, completely swamped with work. But I wasn't idle either. I hired someone to investigate Luke's background. A few days later, the results came back. The guy had hacked into Luke's laptop and retrieved his financial records. 2 weeks ago, Salma transferred 1 million yuan to Luke's personal account. Right after that, he began tracking your movements. I also pulled the hospital surveillance footage and put it on a USB drive. It proves you never responded to Luke's advances. Louis didn't get home until very late that night. I need to talk to you about Luke, I said. I followed him into the study and handed over the evidence. These are videos of Luke stalking me, along with the bank transfer records from the Lee family. Is that enough to clear my name? But Louis didn't respond. I looked up, only to find him staring blankly at me, eyes slightly glazed. I leaned in and sniffed. You've been drinking? He held up his thumb and forefinger. Just a smidge. Yup, totally drunk. I began collecting the documents off the table. Go get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow. I turned to leave, but Louis suddenly stood up and grabbed my wrist. You're so fierce, he mumbled. His eyes looked watery and aggrieved, like a wronged little puppy. Why are you always mad at me? You're the one who's always angry, mister, perpetually annoyed, I shot back. Clearly, he wasn't interested in my explanation. You took pictures with another man. They were fake. You let him hug you. I pushed him away. I don't care. You're my wife. I haven't even hugged you, why should he get to? And with that, Louis suddenly yanked me into his arms and gave me a giant bear hug. He even nuzzled my cheek and sighed contentedly. You sao saguji. Drunk Louis was definitely more honest. Still clutching a pillow, he followed me into the bedroom like a stubborn child, insisting on sleeping beside me. No way. I kicked at the man who had shamelessly claimed half my bed. Get off. We're married. Why can't I sleep here? You're going to regret this tomorrow. No, I won't. In the end, I let him stay. Because honestly? I was very curious to see what kind of expression he'd make when he woke up. And sure enough, the next morning did not disappoint. Louis opened his eyes like the sky had fallen. What the hell happened? I propped up my chin, grinning. You tell me. You're the one who crawled into my bed last night. Then I sighed dramatically. You know what they say, men can't be trusted. Who would have guessed that our prim and proper Mr. Lin, all suit and tie by day, would turn into such a sneaky bed invader by night? His face stiffened. It was an accident. Classic scumbag excuse. I've heard it all. I'll be changing the lock on my bedroom today, just in case you barge in again and try to blame me for it. When Louis left the house that morning, his face was so dark it could have rained. Meanwhile, my heart, bottled up for half a month, finally felt bright and sunny. But there was a downside. From that day on, I became the big bad monster. Louis started avoiding me like the plague. I tried several times to talk to him about the investigation results, but he always shut me down with a cold expression. Even his mother noticed something was off. She approached me one day and asked, You and Louis, are you two fighting? I hesitated for a moment, then finally said, Mom, do you ever feel like Louis's personality is kind of strange? How so? Like, sometimes he's cheerful and silly, but other times he's so gloomy. It's like he keeps switching back and forth. Louis's mother fell silent for a long time before she finally spoke. Actually, Louis had an older brother. I froze. That? I didn't know. The novel hadn't mentioned much about the villain's family background. All I knew was that Louis came from an extremely wealthy household, and that after his father passed away, he'd inherited the company and quickly rose to prominence as a young business prodigy. Louis wasn't always like this, she said. He used to be a lively, mischievous child, always climbing trees and getting into trouble. His older brother, on the other hand, was calm and dependable. Their father and I always thought the older one would take over the company, and we'd just let Louis grow up freely, however he wanted. But when Louis was 8 years old, his brother died. We were on a family trip when a sudden storm hit. Louis had been swimming in the ocean. His brother went in to save him, and was swept away. After that, Louis completely changed. Crushed by guilt, he forced himself to grow up overnight, and slowly, he became just like his brother. So the inner voice I'd been hearing, was that the real Louis? Louis's mother's eyes turned red as she gently held my hand. Back then, we were all so consumed by grief over losing our eldest son, we didn't notice anything was wrong with Louis. By the time we did, it was already too late. Awu. I can tell that you mean something different to Louis. If you have even the slightest bit of affection for my son, would you please help him? What Louis's mother said lingered in my mind for a long time. Did I have feelings for Louis? At first, I thought I didn't. Approaching Louis was something the plot required. Pleasing him was purely a strategy for survival. But somewhere along the way, things changed. Maybe it started when he kept pestering me to chat. Or maybe when he looked at me and said, "Thank you, wifey." These days, Louis had returned to that cold, distant self, but I couldn't stop thinking about the version of him from before. I kept wondering, if that Louis woke up again, would he cling to me? Would he act all spoiled, just to keep me by his side? And that night, when he drunkenly hugged me and whispered that he missed me, my heart, suspended for so long, finally came back down to earth. Truthfully, I wanted to say it back. I missed him too. Does that count as liking someone? That evening, I deliberately stayed up late. As soon as Louis returned home, I grabbed a pillow and headed straight to his room. He looked up. "What do you want?" "Nothing. Just came to sleep with you. Don't push your luck." I smiled, eyes curving. I prefer to call it reciprocation. Louis's lips curled slightly in mockery. "Emily, do you even know who you are? You're just a stand-in bride. Once the public calms down, we'll part ways." "So what you're saying is, you'd rather have Salma back?" I asked calmly. Enlightened, I pulled out my phone. "Well then, I'll call her for you right now." "Hey, sis. It's Emily," Louis said. Before I could finish, Louis lunged at me and snatched the phone from my hand. He glanced at the dark screen and instantly realized he'd been tricked. I took the opportunity to wrap my arms around his waist and gave him an innocent blink. The doctor was right." Then I leaned in, whispering, "You really have recovered well." In that instant, Louis's face turned scarlet, flushed from the base of his neck to the tips of his ears. Speechless, he stiffly walked into the bathroom and slammed the door shut. I couldn't help it, I burst out laughing. That was the moment I knew, without a doubt, I liked him. I had really fallen for Louis. Once I acknowledged my feelings, I stopped holding back. Every other night, I'd find an excuse to sneak into his room. At first, he played it cool, pretending to drive me away with that cold CEO demeanor. Eventually, though, he just gave up and let me do whatever I wanted. One evening, I wasn't feeling well and lay curled up in my own bed, too tired to move. To my surprise, Louis came over on his own. He took one look at my furrowed brow and frowned. "Emily, are you always this good at giving up halfway?" That came out of nowhere. It took me a moment to realize he was hinting at something. My period started. I'm not feeling well, so I took the day off. As soon as I finished speaking, the bedroom door slammed shut with a loud bang. I jumped, startled. What the hell? Even if we were bedmates, that was still uncalled for. Why so angry? But not even 5 minutes passed before the door creaked open again. Louis walked in with a stiff expression, and a soft pink thermos in his hand. "Brown sugar water," he said brusquely. He plunked it down on my nightstand, voice deadpan. "My mom told me to bring it to you." "Oh, then thank your mom for me." He stood there for a second, lips pressed together, then turned and walked out. By midnight, I was still lying in bed watching dramas on my iPad when the door opened again. It was Louis. "You're not supposed to stay up late when you're not feeling well." I finally snapped. "What, is that also something your mom said?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked straight over, yanked the iPad from my hands, and then, without warning, scooped me up, blanket and all, into his arms. "What are you doing?" Still silent, he carried me back to his room and placed me on his side of the bed, my usual spot. Expressionless, he said, "Close your eyes. Go to sleep." Wait a second. That sounded awfully familiar. Wasn't that exactly what I used to say to him when I tucked him in? I have to admit, my bed-sharing strategy really did work. I could clearly sense the shift in Louis's attitude toward me. He wasn't as annoyingly talkative as he had been in his vegetative days, but at least now he acted like a normal person. Just when everything seemed to be going smoothly, the photos of me and Luke were leaked. And the one who fanned the flames? Salma. She beat me to it, accepting a media interview first. Tears streamed down her face on camera, her voice trembling as she spoke. "This was my fault. I let I down. She married Louis in my place. If I hadn't run away from the wedding so recklessly, she wouldn't have had to part from the one she loved, and she wouldn't have ended up marrying Louis. If you need someone to blame, blame me. Please don't target my sister." The internet exploded. A substitute bride? In the 21st century? What kind of chaos is this rich family involved in? This PR spin is disgusting. So this fake couple was profiting off their CP status while cheating on each other in private. I don't even know who to feel bad for anymore. Maybe for myself. The money I spent shipping this CP has turned into my tears today. Soon, hashtags like hashtag tragic end of Wuan Louis, hashtag Emily substitute bride, and even hashtag Salma were trending on social media. And just like that, I went viral, for all the wrong reasons. The hate comments came flooding in, each more creative than the last. "A bastard child is still a bastard child. Salma's elegance puts Emily to shame." I'm getting conspiracy vibes. Maybe this whole substitute bride thing was staged from the start. She just wanted to marry into wealth. She planned this pretty well, married a vegetative rich guy, got the money and fame, and still got to sneak around with her lover. But oops. The husband woke up. 23:33, Louis came over and took the phone from my hand. Stop reading that stuff. I'm fine. I actually think it's kind of funny. I'm just an ordinary person, how did I end up getting roasted by the entire internet? It's my fault for not handling things better. Louis sat beside me. I'll help prepare a statement to clarify everything, including a full timeline. If needed, I'll call another press conference. You're writing the speech too? I paused for a moment, then shook my head. Let's forget it. I don't want to face the cameras again. Louis was quiet for a beat. Don't worry. This time, your husband will take the stage himself. I didn't think much of it at first. But a few minutes later, I replayed that conversation in my head and suddenly realized. Louis, did you remember something? Remember what? He didn't even lift his eyes from the screen. You mean the cross-cutting thing? So he had remembered. I shot up, shocked and thrilled. When did it come back to you? Louis finally paused, a slightly helpless look in his eyes. After I got drunk that night. It had been that long? Then why didn't you tell me? You just let me keep climbing into your bed every night. He looked a bit flustered. I went to your room too, okay? I clenched my jaw and decided, on the spot, to give him the silent treatment. Louis got up and pulled me into his lap. I'm sorry, wifey. He lowered his voice. Your husband still has some pride, you know. Thinking back to that time, I couldn't help but laugh again. Yeah, all those things you did? Really shameless. We laid everything out in order, collected all the evidence, and posted it online. It hit Salma hard, she had almost no room to fight back. After some discussion, Louis and I held an online press conference together to explain the whole situation. A reporter asked, is it true that the bride swap really happened? Louis didn't avoid the question. It's true, he said calmly. The marriage between our families was arranged by our parents. But I never had any interest in Miss Salma, so I planned to refuse the engagement. Unfortunately, before I could resolve it, the accident happened. My mother, desperate to lift my luck, discussed with the Lee family moving the wedding forward. Of course, they didn't want to marry off their daughter to someone in a coma, so they sent over my current wife, Emily, instead. He smiled gently. And I'm deeply grateful to my in-laws for that decision. Because it gave me the chance to meet the woman I truly love. A reporter followed up, and what do you love about your wife? Louis paused thoughtfully. Then, slowly and deliberately, he said, her kindness and integrity. Her cleverness, and her mischief. Every word he spoke seemed to carry 1,000 unspoken stories. The reporter, clearly moved by the look in Louis's eyes, was silent for a moment before turning to me. Miss Lee, we actually asked you this question before as well. Now that Mr. Lin is awake, has your answer changed? I smiled and shook my head. No. I've always loved the bright and cheerful version of Louis. Once the truth came out, the Lee family quickly became the new target of internet fury. Digging deeper, someone unearthed a financial scandal that pulled Salma's father into a lawsuit. With Louis suppressing their business early on, and now public opinion turning against them, the Lee family's company soon collapsed entirely. I couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Wasn't Salma supposed to be the female lead? How did it all come to this? Is this the villain's victory? Just then, a thought finally dawned on me. If Salma was the heroine, then who was the male lead? Strangely, I couldn't recall anything about him. Salma's getting married, Louis said one day when he came home. To who? The CEO of Black Ice Group. Black Ice Group, the name alone screamed money. That had to be the male lead, right? I asked, so he must be pretty handsome. I mean, come on, he's the male lead. Louis glanced at me, then casually opened a WeChat profile and showed me someone's Moments page. This guy. I stared at the photo, a bald, pot-bellied man who looked well over 60. You're joking. That's an old man. The Lee family's in bad shape. Having anyone willing to marry her right now is a win. I wasn't ready to give up. Does he have a son? A handsome one. After all, hot stepmom stories are trendy these days. Louis's face darkened. So even a vegetative husband isn't enough for you now? You've started fantasizing about other people's sons. That's not what I meant. I was just... Before I could finish, Louis tackled me onto the bed. Several hours later, he finally let me go. Are you satisfied now? Still thinking about someone else? I wasn't thinking about anyone in the first place. I rolled my eyes and ignored him. Louis leaned in, resting his chin on my shoulder. Wifey, there's something I've always been curious about. That first time, when I asked you to look at my butt, what were you thinking? I thought back to the moment. And couldn't stop the smile tugging at my lips. White. Very white. Like a giant steamed bun. Louis, looking back, I was just a stand-in bride with no script, no direction, just instinct and a stubborn heart. Yet somehow, I ended up with the man who once lay silent beside me. Now, when he holds me close and whispers "wifey," I know this story was always meant to be ours.